We're going to do three things. We're going to install a heavy duty window in a shed kit frame so it's safe and secure. We're going to minimise the sound coming into the room by decoupling the glass from the inside of the room. We're also going to look at some cost-effective ways to improve the acoustic treatment inside the room. G'day, it's Rowan from Elf Design. Today we're talking about the window install. Now behind me here you can see a standard window. These are the things you get with a regular shed kit. They're much lighter, aluminium frame. This one's about 1400 wide by about 900 high. And you basically just sit it on your wall girt, which is a 64mm top hat in this case. And then you just screw it in. And then when you're doing your cladding around the outside, you put additional screws through the cladding and through the window frame to hold it. Because it's not very heavy, it's completely supported adequately in that way. These are quite strong, particularly when the cladding goes on the outside. However, to install a double glazed window, a lot heavier, 2 meters long, this is not going to work. So I needed to have something to hold the window that would go through to the slab to take the weight. But on top of that, I wanted to make sure it was decoupled from the inside of the room for my soundproofing. So that's what added the complication. But I'll show you a diagram and explain how I did it. Alright, let's strip back the cladding in a few layers so we can see what's going on. Even if you're not worried about sound treatment, you still need to support the weight of something this heavy. This IGU, or insulated glass unit, weighs around 35 kilograms with 2 panes of glass sealing the argon gas inside. I chose to use steel to transfer that load directly into the slab. I'm using 50mm angle iron with feet bolted into the slab and a horizontal section on top for the window to sit on. It's also fixed back to the wall girts. That means two things. One, it needs to allow for a bit of movement if strong winds hit the exterior cladding, and two, from a soundproofing perspective, we've now got a direct path for vibration from a slab and outer structure, so we'll need to decouple the window from the inner room later. Now's probably a good time to talk about decoupling materials. If you saw episode 1, I explained how decoupling is one of the key ingredients in soundproofing. It helps reduce sound transfer through structure-borne vibration. Technically, it works by converting some of that kinetic energy into heat, but we're only talking very small amounts. Throughout the build, I've used a rubber product that's easy to get from the local hardware store. Jack's anti-vibration pads come in a range of sizes and thicknesses. These ones are 1 metre long, 100mm wide and 4mm thick. This is a practical way to reduce some vibration, but because it's thin and relatively firm, it's not as effective as dedicated acoustic mounts, which are thicker, softer, and better at handling low frequencies like kick drums. My goal here is mainly to reduce things like wind and general structure noise, so this will work well for that. Alright, back to the plan. The angle line support frame will have a layer of anti-vibration pad on top. The IGU sits within its own frame, which is fixed to the shed's outer structure. The glass is held in place with timber glazing beads, and I've designed a length of flashing with custom bends to direct water away from the window and down the corrugated cladding. For the internal room framing, there's an isolation gap that allows more anti-vibration padding to run vertically between the window frame and the internal window reveal. The key detail here is that nothing rigid bridges that gap, no screws or nails passing through. Instead, I've used a polyurethane sealant adhesive which stays flexible and is paintable, unlike silicone. The window reveal is cut so the inside edge finishes flush with the drywall. That way, the final trim sits clean and flush, tying everything together. This is video 3 of a 9-part series on building a studio by extending my shed. Now, I know you've heard this before, but it really does help if you like, subscribe, add comments and all that stuff. It really does help the channel, so please do that if you're enjoying the content, and make sure you check out those other videos as well. Glass is very reflective and one of the more challenging surfaces to deal with acoustically. Sound just bounces straight off back into the room, which can affect stereo imaging and high-end detail. Even though it's double glazed, it'll still let more sound through than the treated wall. A low-cost option is blockout curtains. They won't stop the low frequencies, but they will absorb some of the mid to high frequencies and reduce reflections. The blind is just for glare to block out some of the morning sun. If I wanted to make a real difference to the acoustic properties, I'd build an absorption plug that fills the entire window opening. but I'll see if I need that over time. Next episode, I'll start on the internal framing. That's where I'll go into more detail around isolation and how I'm building a recessed section into the ceiling for the cloud. Catch you later.